Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So we're starting. Okay. Yeah. So let's go for it. Now, we're reading the story The Telltale Heart, written by Edgar Allan Poe. So let's go for it. The first line is something like that. The true nervous, very, very dreadfully nervous I had been and am. Meaning what? He was going through some nervousness and still he's nervous. But why will you say that I'm mad? Who is saying that? No one calls him mad, but he thinks himself that everyone calls him what? Mad. The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all was the senses of hearing acute. I heard all things in the heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Look, what happens if you are going through a psychological crisis? Something that happens in your mind is like you are hearing all sort of noises. You're hearing the sound of the hell. You're hearing the sound of what? Heaven. You're hearing the sound of babies crying, chirping, and you see something that no one sees. It's called what? Paranoid. It's called what? Hallucinations. It's called audio-visual hallucinations. Like you hear something that no one hears. You see something that no one sees. A ghostly activities that goes on. So what's happening with this guy? The narrator? Look at the line. It's very, very clear. How then am I mad? Hearken and observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you the whole story. Look, now he is going to tell you a story. Who is going to tell you the story? Not the heart, the man. The narrator is going to tell you the story. But he says that when he starts the story, he says that he is mad, right? Everyone thinks that he is mad. But he says that, the way I'm going to tell you the story, you won't ever say me that I'm mad. Do you understand it? Yes. Look, it's something like you have committed a murder. And when you committed a murder, people are saying that you are a mad guy. That's why you committed a murder. But the murderer is saying you know what? The way I'm going to articulate the story for you, no one will think that I'm mad. Everyone will think what? How sharp I am. Clear? So let me tell you the very, very interesting fact. Look, write it down for your better understanding. What happens here? The narrator, someone commits a murder. And when he commits a murder, then he tries to hide the whole body, the dead body. And he does it tactically, and he does it beautifully, and there is no trace found, like if there is any murder. And we found that, look, this story is kind of a matured story. I think all of you are matured enough to try it, but don't try it at home, okay? Don't try it at home with anyone, okay? So let's go, read it. Let's read it. It's impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived. Look, have you heard the word once conceived? Do you know when do we use this word, conceived? It's like when a new idea or a new human being is coming out from the womb of a mother. That's what we call conceive. And when you conceive something, you cannot get rid of it until that comes out from your womb. You get me?
Yes.
I think you didn't get me. What's the idea of conceive? Like when you are, think of how a baby comes out. Yes. At first the mother has to conceive, right?
Yes.
That's called conceive. Then it comes out, but while she conceives, can she get rid of it?
No.
Same thing happened with this guy. He conceived the idea and he can get rid of it. Why? He's mad. It haunted me day and night. You see the line? It haunted me day and night. Object, there was none. Passion, there was none. I loved the old man. Look at something. You kill someone whom you loved, really. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For this gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. How does it look like, the eye? Have you seen the structure? Do you know what is vulture? A kind of a bird that in Bangla we call it shukun.
So it's similar to eagle but way worse.
But they eat the dead bodies.
Yes.
The vulture. Okay? Have you seen the vulture? It's in Bangla we call it shukun. Okay? A kind of a bird. It comes and what does it do? it attacks the dead bodies, okay, the dead animals, something like that. So look at the description of the eyes. What's wrong with this old man? Look, the murderer, he's saying something that I have no passion for his gold. I have no problem with him. I loved him a lot. But what's the problem?
His eyes.
Why?
Because his eyes
resemble that of a vulture. How does it look like? A vulture. Have you seen a vulture? It's very, like when you see a vulture, like it's gonna give you a, a big and a kind of like it's written like on his, like when you see the body, you feel like it's very nasty. And look, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. And so by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man and thus rid myself of the eye forever. He doesn't want to get rid of whom? The old man. What does he want to get rid of?
The eye.
The eye. Right? It disturbs him. And he says that I don't know why does it disturb me, but I want to get rid of it. What? The eye, not the old man. Now, this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing. Look, the way he is describing in the story, right? He says what? The madmen know nothing. Do you think that he's a madman? The way he's narrating the story for you?
Yes.
I don't think so. Because look, it's very much logical. Look, now this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing. That's very true. Madmen know nothing at all, right? But you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. Meaning what? Before he killed him, he was very kind to him.
Yes.
Now, it's something like, when you're going to, because if you want to achieve something, obtain something from someone, like if you want to achieve a good grade from me, then what should you do? You should come in for, before the exam, you say, sir, this is the thing, this is a gift for you. Like, these are the things we all do. So this is the thing that, who is doing that? This murderer, he said that before I killed him, the last week, I was so kind to him. And then what does he say? During the whole week before I killed him, and every night about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it oh so gently. And then when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed, so that no light shone out. Sufficient for my head. I put in a dark lantern, all closed. Have you seen that? Some words are being repeated all the time. Closed. Then again, go on, then. What's that? Every night about midnight, I turned the latch of this door and opened it, also gently. And then when I made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed, so that no light shone out. And then I thrust in my head. Oh, you would have loved to see how cunningly I thrust it in. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly. Again, you see, it's being repeated all the time, very, very slowly. It could have been said like slowly. It's okay, but again, slowly, very, very slowly. Why?
Because he wanted to murder child and
And exactly, because you will always find that who is in a crisis, in a psychological crisis, he's always repeating the word again and again for you.
Sir,
Why? Because
I think he's like the paranoia got him. Like he's not in a right conscious of mind.
Exactly, he's not in the right conscious of the mind, and that's why he repeats the thing until he achieves his goal. You'll be fine. You'll see that he's repeating the whole thing again and again and again. Let's go for it again. Now we'll skip few lines though. Okay, very, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Ha! Would a madman have been so wise as this? What's the question?
would a madman have been so wise as this? So since at the beginning he questioned, am I a madman? So he keeps justifying his
Exactly. Now he says what? Look, madmen are not wise. Exactly. But he says that, look, I'm a very wise man. Look how I'm just plotting a murder for you. Like opening the door slowly.
This is paranoia. He's justifying his
Exactly. Yeah. Let's go for it then. I undid the lantern cautiously, also cautiously again. You see? also cautiously undid means what? Turned off, right? Undid the lantern cautiously, also cautiously, for the hinges creaked. I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture eye. What does he want to take over? The vulture eyes, right? And this I did for 7 long nights. How many nights?
7 long nights.
So it's something like 7 long nights. He's trying to go for these vulture eyes. Every night just at midnight, but I found the eye always closed. What's the problem? Because the man is sleeping, right?
Yes.
So the eyes are closed. So he can, yeah.
Does he want to poke his eye out?
Yeah, that was the first mission actually. Okay, so it was impossible to do the work, for it wasn't the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. Who disturbs him? Who disturbs him? Is evil eye, not the old man. And every morning when the day broke, I went boldly into the chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone and inquiring how he had passed the night. Hey, how was the night last night? Why? Because 7 nights you're poking into his room, making sure that if he is getting any clue, like someone pokes into his room, then, so you see how it would have been a very profound old man indeed to suspect that every night, just as 12, I looked in upon him while he slept. Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in the opening the door. A watch minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph to think that there I was opening the door little by little, and he not even to dream of my mood on the bed suddenly, as if startled. Now you may think that I drew back, but no. What does it mean? What does it mean? He's almost there to do the work.
Yes.
And now he's telling you, we are thinking that I'm coming back.
He is more
Cautious more than before. And look, his room was as black as pitch with a thick darkness, for the shutters were close fastened through fear of rovers, and so I knew that he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept pushing it on steadily again, steadily. I had my head in. What does it mean? I had my head in and was about to open the lantern when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening, and the old man sprang up in the bed crying out, "Who's there?" Now who is saying that? Like the old man got out. And I kept quiet still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle. How long hours? How long? For 1 hour. He didn't move a muscle. And in the meantime, I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed listening, just as I have done night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the wall. Presently, I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of a mortal terror. It was not a groan of pain or grief. Oh no, it was the low, stifled sound that arises from the bottom of the soul when overchanged with awe. I knew the sound well. Many a night just at midnight when all the world slept, it has welled up from my own bosom. Meaning what? The sound is to come from his own heart. Whose heart? The narrator's heart. The murderer's heart, deepening with its dreadful echo. That it's meaning what? When everyone sleeps at night, he is disturbed by his own nuisance, his own problem. Who is disturbed by his own problem? The murderer. Meaning that no one hears the call of my heart. Only I hear, the dreadful hurt that I hear. Then he says, "What? Let's go for it." I say I knew it well. I knew what the old man felt and pitied him. Although I chuckled at her, I knew that he had been lying awake ever since the first slight noise. When he had turned in the bed, his fears had been ever since growing upon him. Now, there is another interesting thing. Like when you want to commit a murder, the very first thing you want what? You want whom you are going to victimize. You want him to rise the fear so that he begs you for the life. He wants to see you that you're suffering, you're afraid. Like, you know, if you think of crossfire, if you think of someone is committing a murder, the very first thing you want what? if you want to murder someone, you want him to suffer before he dies, right? You want him to be afraid before he dies, right? And then you don't want him to kill in one shot. You want him to suffer more before he dies. This is what he's saying. Look. He had been saying to himself, it's nothing but the wind in the chimney. It's only a mouse crossing the floor. What do you think? When there is a noise all of a sudden in a dark room, if you see something like a shadow comes into the room, and you just defend your mind saying what? No one. I think it's maybe a rat. It's maybe a mouse. Or maybe there is a wind. Or maybe an earthquake, maybe. But what don't you want to think? You don't want to think that there is a stranger in your room. Because why? Because you don't want to be more afraid of that. Then come, let's go for it. Finishing it soon. Yes, he has been trying to comfort himself with these suppositions. But he had found all in vain because death, in approaching him, had stalked with his black shadow before him and enveloped the victim. And it was the mournful influence of the unperceived shadow that caused him to feel, although he neither saw nor heard, to feel the presence of my head within the room. When I had waited a long time very patiently without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a very, very crevice in the lantern. So I opened it. You cannot imagine how sturdily, until at length a single dim ray, like the thread of the spider, shot from out of the crevice and fell upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide open. And I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw it with perfect distinctness, all a dull blue, with a hideous veil over it that chilled the very marrow in my bones. But I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I had directed the ray, as if by instinct, precisely upon the damned spot. And now, have I not told you that what you mistake for madness is but over acuteness of the senses? Now I say, there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. What disturbs him now? When he was attacking the eyes, what disturbed him? The beating of the heart. Like, the heart keeps on beating. Now, and you are, it's like, why it's beating? So now he says a word. I knew that sound well too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury, as the beating of a drum stimulated the soldier into courage. Like, now it's saying what? When the soldier is in a battlefield, you see that to stimulate their, courage, they used to do what? A battle in the army, like, so that, like, when it's a left, right, you see that the sound of the boots. Why? The sound of the boots encourages you to fight valiantly. And that's the reason he says that the beat of the heart is like telling me, kill him now, kill him now, kill him now. It's make you more ferocious. Now he says what? But yet I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. I gripped quicker and quicker, and louder very instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder. I said louder every moment. Do you mark me well? I have told you that I'm nervous. So I am. And now at the dead hour of the night, amid the dreadful silence of that old house, so strange a noise as this excited me to uncontrollable terror. Yet for some minutes longer I refrained and stood still, but the beating grew louder. I thought the heart must burst, and now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by the neighbor. Who will hear the sound? The neighbor. And the neighbor will obviously visit the house. What happened? He's afraid right now. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked once only. In an instant, I dragged him to the floor, and pulled the heavy bed over him. What's what? a bed over him. I then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. But for many minutes the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It did not be heard though the wall. At length it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. Corpse means what? The dead body. Yes, he was stone dead. I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there many minutes. Meaning what? The heart. You know what happens when you kill someone? Sometimes the heart, even if you have seen, like even when you slaughter a cow, have you seen that it's something like the heart? Even you're slaughtering, the heart is still like pumping.
Yes, sir.
That's the problem. It happens with this guy as well. Look, if you think me mad, you'll think so. No longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night went, and I worked hastily but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. Heinous. What happens? This chops into pieces. Dismembered the body, corpse. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs. I then took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber and deposited it all between the scantlings. I then replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong.
He kept the eyes.
So there was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot, whatever. I had been too wary for that. A tub had caught all, ha 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 ha. When I had made an end of these labors, it was 4 o'clock, meaning what? He dismembered the body and everything is done. There is no stain of blood, there is no single drop of blood on the floor. And he says, what? It's still dark as midnight. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart, for what had I known now to fear? There entered 3 men who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. What happens now? Police came here. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night. There's a sound. Who heard the sound?
The
neighbor had heard a sound, a shriek sound, and that's why they informed the police and he came. Now there's an interesting fact I want to share with you. Look, sometimes don't be too over smart. And you know why will he be caught? He's too much smart. You see what happens in the story. It's very interesting. Okay. Information had been lodged at the police office and the officers had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled. For what I had to fear, I bid the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. What was the shriek? What was the shouting? He said that while I was I was sleeping, I shouted at night. That was the shriek. The old man I mentioned was absent in the country. What did he mention? What did he mention? The old man is absent, is not in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bid them search well. Look, what does it say? He says that, the police officer came and he's searching and says, wish you very good luck for researching. Right? It's something like you are becoming too smart, right? Now look, I led them at length to his chamber. Now he's taking him where? Where the old man used to sleep, the chamber. I showed them his treasures, secure, undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest for their fatigues. And what did he do actually? He brought some chairs. Look, Zubair, Fatima, Brishti. Look, he brought some chairs. I said, hey, come on, have a seat. I think you are too fatigued. Have rest. Look, the murderer is asking the police officers to take rest, giving them chairs, and telling them, you must be too tired. Take rest. But who should be tired?
It was the murderer.
It was the murderer because he dismembered a human body. He should be tired. Okay. While I myself, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, don't declare always that you are victorious. Don't declare that too quick. Never declare that, because sometimes we do that, right? We declare ourselves that, we win. Don't declare it too quick. Place my own seat upon the very spot beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. Wow. I was singularly at ease. Look at the word. I really love this word. I was singularly at ease, meaning what? All myself, I'm so pleased. Singularly meaning single, right? This sentence is really nice. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerily, they chatted of familiar things, but ere long I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears. What? Fancied means what? As if like he's hearing a voice. There's some sound he's still hearing. The ringing became more distinct. It's coming much more closer. Because remember, can you remember at the beginning of the story, he says that I hear the voice of the hell, I hear the voice of the heaven, I hear every voice that happens on the earth. Meaning that he hears some voice, right? Now he's saying that, it continued and became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but it continued and gained definitiveness until at length I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt, I now grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice. Yet the sound increased. And what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much such a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. Do you understand? Do you know that? Look, listen. Have you heard the noise? Like when it's winter, you can hear the sound of the clock disturbing a lot.
Yes.
While sleeping. It's like, and you feel like, it's why is it making too noise? Sometimes, just in the middle of the night, if you just wake up hearing the sound of a clock, sometimes it really disturbs you, and you find that the fan is turned off, no noise, only the noise of the clock. It's coming out, right? Something happens with him. Look, what does he do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much such a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles in a high key and with the violent gesticulations, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor to and fro with heavy strides, as if excited to fury by the observations of the man. But the noise steadily increased. Oh God, what could I do? I phoned, I raved, I saw. Look, the police officer, I will show you, but let me finish the story. I phoned, I raved, I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting and grated it upon the boards, but the noise arose over all and continually increased. It grew louder, and still the man chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, oh no, they heard, they suspected, they knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think. But anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable than this derision. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream to die. And now again, hark, louder. Villains, I shrieked. Dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here. It's the beating of the hideous heart. What was the sound that was disturbing him? The beating of the heart. That was disturbing him. And look, let me tell you what happens. When the officers, like you three officers are sitting and I'm the murderer, and I'm telling you what happened, everything, I'm just waiting for you just to leave the home. But deep in my heart, I'm hearing a voice, and I'm suspecting that you are also hearing the voice. So it's something like I'm hearing a voice, and I ran to the room where the sound is coming, and they also followed you, and you're following me. What happened? And I'm looking under the bed. What happened? The heart is beating, and they saw you. There is a dead body under your bed. It's sometimes when you're too much smart, you get caught. Look, what he was saying that he won't be able to, the police officers won't be able to catch him. Why? Because there is no clue actually, and they're almost there to leave. But he's thinking that because when you commit a murder, you commit a crime, you always know that inside you heard, like, did I leave any clue? What's going on? And can you remember while he was committing a murder, what was the sound that was disturbing him? The beating of the heartbeat, right? And again, when he dismembered the bodies, okay, he just hid it under the bed. Again, the sound was disturbing him. What was the sound? The heartbeat. And when he was thinking that, like you are my guest, you are sitting in the dining room, in the drawing room, and I find a sound that happened, just something, something burst in my room. So is it you will go to investigate what happened in my bedroom, or I will go to investigate what happened in my bedroom? Obviously that is I will go to investigate what happened in my bedroom. So I ran. How the sound is come? But look, what the murderer is thinking, the sound he is hearing is the sound of his unconscious mind. It's not the sound of the heart actually. Because while he was committing the murder, the heartbeat of the heart, that was disturbing him. And still he is hearing it in his brain. Actually not the police officers. But while he was trying to say that, but he thought that even the police officer had heard the noise, so it's better to confess how I commit the murder. And do you know what's the meaning? The meaning is that now make the last scene to be the first one and make the first scene to be the last one. How? In the last scene, what happened? We find that in the story, the man is caught by the police officers, right? Now he is giving the confession, actually. Okay? How did he commit the murder? Done?
Yes.
So this is the story actually. So Edgar Allan Poe, it's very, very interesting, and there is another story that we're going to read, and you'll find this is much more it's very much more suspicious. And in this story you find what disturbs him most?
The heartbeat.
The blue eyes.
The blue eyes. And in the next story you find that it's not any blue eyes or anything, it's the eyes of the cat that disturbs him again.
Oh, is it going to be something with the cat?
No, but it's very interesting. Now and then you find that how the next story is much more interesting. It's something like, let me give you a clue. It's something he wanted to hide the dead body. Okay, so he started. It's something like when you open a secret door in the room, right, in the room, just to, so that no one finds it out. Like, it's a wall, but there is a lock. I know that only, right?
Yeah.
Right, and you hide a dead body, but it will be caught. It's not because of that, and it's very interesting how he was being caught only due to the cat actually. Okay, because the noise of the cat disturbs him again, you'll find, and the police officer get a clue where the noise is coming from. Meow. This noise will we'll find it out. Thank you so much. Can you stop the recording please, someone?